Hey guys, welcome to 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒆𝒕. Today we got Bursting Aura featuring the new Lucario EX from Scarlet and Violet Black Star promos with the Aura Sphere attack, doing 160 damage to your opponent's active, plus a 50 damage bench snipe. So it's the attack cost is quite high though. How do we charge it up? It's 2 fighting and 1 colorless. We have our Lucario from Brilliant Stars to do Roaring Resolve, searching the deck for 1 fighting energy and attaching to this Pokemon while placing 2 damage counters on it. You only get to use it once per turn, but you actually get to play this ability every single turn on the bench while attacking with your Lucario EX in the active. So you're basically putting pressure on your opponent to knock it out with a boss. If they do a boss to knock out your Lucario, you at least get to play your bench snipe attack with Aura Sphere, hitting extra damage on the bench every single turn, more and more, collecting knockout with your Inteleon. With Quick Shoot, we are playing our Quick Shoot, but we'll get to that later. So to satisfy the attack cost, we have 2 Raihan and also 2 Energy Switch with our Aura Sphere Volley. So Aura Sphere Volley, with our Roaring Resolve. Roaring Resolve allows you to search your deck, as we said. Using Lucario to get extra energy in the game allows you to play the Energy Switch. While attaching an extra 1 from your hand, you got 2 extra energy in a single turn, and that means on your second turn, you can already evolve your EX and attack, do the bench snipe on your second turn with Aura Sphere already, which is great because on your first turn, you can't evolve. On your second turn, you got 2 extra energies, and you got the EX. If you have the EX, you actually get 3 energies in 2 turns to be able to do the bench snipe instantly after evolving. We also get the tank damage with this card as well. We are surviving at least 1 hit with our Lucario EX using Rock Chestplate and also 1 copy of V-Guard. We have 1 V-Guard just in case they play Duraludon. We chose only to play 1 copy. So against Duraludon VMAX, we actually need a lot of basic energies because we are not playing Path to the Peak for this deck. We have instead only 1 copy of our Lake Acuity to reduce even more damage done to our Lucario. If we have V-Guard or Lake Acuity in play, either one in play, we at least get to tank up to 280 or 290 damage with our Lucario EX. With that chest plate on, we get to tank even more. So this is a fighting type Pokemon. It's not actually a rock type. It's actually weak towards Gardevoir EX though, so you gotta be careful about it. Watch out against psychic decks. You can actually knock out extra, you can get extra prizes by knocking out bench routes or their bench Mew, something like that. By getting extra prizes with your Quick Shoot as well. So it is a plus side against Gardevoir if you get to play the attack early. If they don't get the rare candy fast enough, you can at least do extra knockouts on the bench by killing off those routes. But against a Gardevoir, I'm sorry to say we don't really have a high winning condition just because we may actually get wiped out pretty fast. Again, the Zacian doesn't actually need that much energies to actually do a knockout against the Lucario. They only need 3 energy even with our V-Guard and Rock Chestplate. If we have both attached though, we actually get to tank 310 damage. So Zacian actually needs 4 energies if we have our V-Guard and the Rock Chestplate. If we have only Rock Chestplate, Zacian only needs 3 Psychic to be able to knock out our EX with 1 hit. So getting back to our Inteleon, how do we bring this Pokemon into play? How do we summon this Stage 2 Pokemon without doing a Rare Candy evolution? Obviously, we have our Rapid Strike style Mustard with Skwovet combo, but we are not playing Altaria though. So instead, we have our Expedition Uniform to look at the bottom 3 cards of our deck and put them in any order on top of our deck. With an item, we actually get to arrange the bottom 3 on the top, and that means if we have Mustard at the bottom 3 cards of our deck, if we have 1 copy and in there, we actually get to arrange them at the top of our deck, and the other 2 at the bottom, on the other 2 cards of the top deck, we actually get to play Nest Stash to bring out the Mustard while having it as the sole supporter in our hand, satisfying the supporter condition for us to play that, the special effect of Mustard to bring out our Inteleon onto the bench without having to do a rare candy. For our draw spot, we're playing 2 Bibarels, 1 Serena, 1 Irida to search for our water Pokemon, either Manaphy for the bench barrier or Inteleon for the discard. We do have to discard it before we are actually allowed to play our Mustard, obviously, because you need to be able to summon it from the discard pile using Rapid Strike style Mustard. It's not single strike. We also have our Arven to search for Rock Chestplate with an item card. If we go second on our first turn, we get to search for VIP. As I keep saying for my videos, VIP for the first turn with Arven if you go second is super delicious because you get to bench 2 Pokemons, especially for Lucario. We actually need multiple Riolus early game to be able to stack the energy with our Roaring Resolve by doing a energy switch with your Arven. So Arven Irida actually helps you search for the energy switch for you to attack early game right after evolving your EX and also your 1 price Lucario, helping you satisfy the attack cost by attaching 2 energies on your second turn for Aura Sphere to hit the bench snipe early game. We also have our Raihan 2 copies to help us get extra energies into the game. We actually get to prepare our next attacker right after the first one gets knocked out by playing another EX using Raihan to satisfy the attack cost while attaching energy one copy at a time from our hand, or even get even more energies onto our 1 price Lucario from Brilliant Stars, helping us do Aura Sphere Volley for a massive knockout, doing 60x damage for each fighting energy discarded from this Pokemon. You are actually forced to discard all fighting energy attached to this Pokemon when you use this attack, but you are doing a lot of damage from the output. So if you have 5 fighting energy on this Pokemon, it doesn't work if it's not fighting though. It needs to be fighting, and that's the reason we're playing 9 copies of basic fighting and only 1 V-Guard for our Lucario to do big damage for a VMAX knockout. It needs at least 5 energies on this Pokemon to be able to do a low HP VMAX knockout. If they have 320 or more HP, you actually need 6 energies on your Lucario. With 5 discards, you're hitting 310 damage with your Aura Sphere Volley for a massive knockout, which is super cool. We also have 1 boss and 1 Team Yell's Cheer to shuffle back 3 in any combination of our Pokemon and support cards from the discard pile back into our deck. For our setup, we're playing 4 Level Ball, 1 Nest Ball, 3 VIP Pass, and also 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball to get any basics from the prize. The reason we're playing more Level Balls instead of Nest Ball is for us to be able to empty our hand so that we get to play our Mustard. If we have a full bench, for example, we can't actually play Nest Ball. If we have a full bench, we can't play Mustard as well, obviously, because you need a free bench spot to be able to, put Inteleon onto the bench with your Mustard. If you have a full bench, you obviously can't play the supporter card even if you have it as the last card in your hand. If you have a full bench though, you can at least draw cards with your Bibarel by playing your Level Ball from your hand. If you have a full bench with Nest Ball, you're not allowed to play the item card. If you can't play Nest Ball with a full bench, you are not allowed to draw cards with your Bibarel without discarding those Nest Balls from your hand with Ultra Ball. And that's the reason we're playing more Level Ball, just to support our Bibarel to help us draw more cards, making the gameplay a lot smoother. To help us search for evolutions, we are playing 4 Ultra Ball with 2 Great Ball. Arven and Irida also help you search for the balls as well. We also have 1 Escape Rope, helping us switch out our Pokemon while also forcing our opponent to switch out their active. We're playing 1 V-Guard with 9 basic fighting. And finally, we have 1 Zoroark to help us transform into either the EX or another Lucario to do Roaring Resolve for a final knockout using Aura Sphere Volley for big damage. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Arceus, Duraludon, Vulpix. So they got the Dream Team. Arceus V-Star with Vulpix V-Star against Gardevoir. Basically an anti-meta combo. They got Duraludon against Lugia and Mew VMAX playing special energies. So Alolan Vulpix works against Miraidon as well, because Miraidon plays nothing but Pokemon with abilities, and if they attack with Regieleki, Raikou, or Miraidon, they can't actually do any damage at all to the Vulpix. If they play Lightning Wall though, that's the only Pokemon they can attack with. If they have Magnezone, they can attack with it as well, obviously, but if they do nothing but Regieleki, Raikou, and Miraidon, they kind of need triple Lightning Wall to be able to knock out that one Vulpix, which is quite ridiculous. Unless if they do an Escape Rope boss. So Vulpix is not perfect. Vulpix is only doing 160 damage as well. Snow Mirage is obviously not able to do a one-hit knockout, but can actually stall until you get your next Vulpix for extra prizes. Against Gardevoir, it's actually perfect because Zacian has an ability, Gardevoir has an ability. The only way they can kill off the Vulpix is with Cresselia. And if they play Cresselia, you got Boss to knock out the Gardevoir or even the Zacian for extra 2 prizes. But you can't actually do that much damage though with the Vulpix, obviously. If you attack with Silvery Snow Star, you can't use any other V-Star powers, and they're playing Starbirth as well for this deck. And also, if they play Silvery Snow Star, they actually don't have the ability guard anymore. They have no more damage guard against Pokemon with abilities, because they actually they are forced to play Snow Mirage every single turn in order to have that special effect. So here comes the Trinity Charge, getting extra energies onto the bench. They're charging up both the Vulpix and the Duraludon. So are they gonna play Silvery Snowstar or Starbirth? That's the question, isn't it? That's the money question. I feel like if they play Silvery Snowstar though, they got a straight knockout against the Lucario. They don't actually need the Snow Mirage because we have Pokemon with no abilities. Obviously the EX has no ability. Our one price Lucario though has the Roaring Resolve, and we can't actually do any damage to the Vulpix with that Lucario, so we gotta be extra careful. So we got Arven for the Chestplate. We're gonna be able to tank. If they choose not to play Starbirth, they got the Vulpix, so we gotta be extra careful here. I don't think. Oh my god, I'm just realizing Vulpix is actually not doing that much damage. So Silvery Snowstar is only doing 70x damage for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play. And since we are not playing any Pokemon V for this deck, Silvery Snowstar is doing 0 damage. So if they have the Arceus, they should be evolving and playing the Starbirth. So we got Ultra Ball. Let's just dig for that. Okay, we got to discard Inteleon. That's like the best feeling ever. Because we only are playing one copy. So we may not be able to do Quick Shoot as often as we like. We may not be able to play it at all in a single game, but we only have 2 Mustard anyways. If we can't draw cards with Mustard, if we don't have Inteleon in the discard pile, obviously we can't play Mustard to draw cards as well. And if we can't draw cards with it, we got at least Serena, Arven, Irida to help us survive the game. So I don't think we need the Mustard for the draw support throughout the whole game. I don't think we need it at all. But we may need the Inteleon. We may need the extra bench snipe. That would definitely help us a lot. So we actually got pretty unlucky and got the Mustard this turn right after playing the supporter card. So we played, I think, Arven and then did the Ultra Ball. And we should have done Nest Stash on the next turn, apparently. But we actually did shuffle the deck with Level Ball, though. So if we play Level Ball on the next turn, I'm not sure if we would get the Mustard from the top deck. That's the annoying thing about this game. When you think you're making the right decisions, they just decide to screw you over. That's like the best decision ever, though, because searching for a Manaphy to put at the bottom to draw one card is actually going to help make your gameplay a lot smoother later on in the game. You're basically drawing more cards, and it allows you to flow a lot better. But I forgot that we're actually playing Mustard for this deck. So when you're playing a Mustard, you kind of need to be careful not to draw that many cards every single turn. Sometimes it's better to just not play the Nest Stash on that turn. But, you don't really have to play it every single turn, obviously. But if you don't, you may not get the right cards at the right time. You may not get the Raihan. You may not, run through the deck fast enough for you to evolve all of your Pokemon. We already have a lot of evolutions, though. I feel like we honestly just don't need we don't need to play Skwovet's ability on the last turn. So we got Energy Switch. We actually get to play our Aura Sphere on this turn. So we have no Lucario V-Star for this deck. Aura Star is actually doing 70x damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and that's going to give us an extra one-hit KO condition. But I decided to play Zoroark instead of the V-Star, just because Zoroark helps you revive your Pokemon, either choosing to play the Brilliant Stars Lucario another time, or even to, do Energy Switch Raihan onto a second EX. So playing Lucario EX is kind of better to just focus on the bench snipe sometimes. If you can play a second copy, that would be ideal, obviously, because 50 damage on the bench is obviously not enough to prepare for a straight knockout on the next turn on that Pokemon if you do a boss on it. So we actually need, unless we play the Lucario though, the Brilliant Stars one with Aura Sphere Volley, that could actually do the trick, because if they have less HP for VMAX, we need one less energy with Aura Sphere Volley for the knockout, right? But I don't think we would get that much energies that fast though. We do have Raihan for our one price Lucario, but if they do a boss and knock it out on the next turn, we actually have to reset the energy all over again. So never rely on Lucario to basically stay alive for that long. The one prize one on the bench because collecting energies every single turn. If you tank with your EX in the active though, you can slowly collect enough energies for a one-hit knockout against their next V-Star or VMAX. So the one price Lucario obviously has a lot more value than the V-Star one. Lucario V-Star has a normal attack that does extra damage only if your opponent's active Pokemon is a V card. If they don't play V Pokemons, if they play like EXs or high HP stage 1 decks, you know, high HP 1 price Pokemons like Dondozo, we're only hitting 120 damage with the V-Star. So that's the bad thing about that Lucario, and that's the reason why I chose not to play it. Because the attack is quite terrible. It's kind of obsolete now that we have EXs. It should really be saying, you know, Pokemon with Robloxes, right? Is if your opponent's active Pokemon has Roblox on it, then you actually get to do 120 more damage with Fighting Knuckle. So, Aura Star is doing a lot of damage, but, you know, it could potentially just be useless, depending on how many energies your opponent choose to have in play. So they could actually have only 3 energies at a time on all of their Pokemons. If they attack with like a V-Star, Palkia V-Star, they can actually control how many energies that they're playing. If they play Melanie, they can obviously attack with Palkia already. If they use Star Portal for 3 energies without attaching one from their hand, they can actually control you, prevent you from doing a knockout with your Aura Star. So it's obviously not a perfect attack. We have no V-Star power though for this deck. We're not playing Forest Seal Stone because we have no V Pokemons, which is a really good counter against Vulpix, because Vulpix is not doing any knockouts. Duraludon get to do big damage though. Trinity Nova is doing big damage with Snow Mirage as well for a 2-hit knockout. But if we have the Rock Chestplate, Vulpix is actually doing a lot less damage. So all we need to do is deal with the Duraludon. But right now we're not actually doing any damage on the VMAX, because we got our bloody V-Guard on the Lucario EX attached on the first turn. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware that they're going to play an Arceus V-Star Duraludon deck. I guess we should be expecting it already, seeing the Arceus in the active. But you never know what they're going to play though. They could have Flying Pikachu VMAX with Decidueye V-Star, but I feel like that deck is kind of obsolete in standard right now. For post-rotation, obviously the better Arceus deck is the one with Duraludon and Vulpix. So we got pretty sloppy for the first turn, that's for sure. That was a terrible misplay, attaching the V-Guard that early. I guess they are playing so many V Pokemons is actually gonna help. Arceus is not doing that much damage as well, so if we have V-Guard and the Rock Chestplate, they could actually do, you know, so much less damage that they can't even knock out the Lucario in 2 hits if they play the double turbo. I feel like we don't really need the V-Guard though, because if they do 200 damage without the double turbo, they got already... there's no way they can play without the double turbo though, because they got so many different energies. They kind of need the double turbo. If they play Starbirth for the Choice Bell as well, Choice Bell is not going to do enough extra damage on our EX. So I feel like if they do the double turbo, they're doing only 120 damage on the Lucario. But if they attack with the Duraludon after that though, they got the knockout, because Duraludon VMAX, GMAX Pulverization is ignoring all effects on the Rock Chestplate, ignoring all effects of special energies, tool cards, effects of attacks, abilities on the active Pokemon that reduces or prevents damage. So that's the power of Duraludon, not just having the Skyscraper ability to counter, you know, Lugia V-Star, Mew VMAX, and a couple other one-price decks that play double turbo. There's going to be Reversal Energy coming out for the next set as well, so Duraludon is definitely going to come back a lot stronger. Is going to be a big thing. So it doesn't just have the Skyscraper, it also has the GMAX Pulverization. I forgot to finish my sentence. That actually allows you to hit Mimikyu, Miltank, Vulpix as well. If they play Snow Mirage, you actually still get to do damage with your GMAX Pulverization even with abilities. Even if it has an ability, you still get to do damage on the Vulpix without playing, you know, Canceling Cologne, Phoebe, cards like that. You don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to do anything with Duraludon. You just need to satisfy the attack cost and also get enough damage in the game while tanking with the, you know, 0 weakness condition. You got not just 0 weakness, you got also 330 HP for a VMAX. But it is a VMAX though, that means your opponent is drawing 3 prizes for a knockout, so you gotta be careful about that, I guess. But it even has like Crystal Cave, Lucky Ice Pop, cards to recover damage from itself. So I feel like it's a really solid deck on its own, with just Arceus and Duraludon. But obviously they need the Vulpix, because Gardevoir EX is crazy right now. Gardevoir is just ripping through standard like mad, and there's nothing to stop it. And that's the reason why we built a Summer V-Star for the last deck, for our last video. If you guys want to check it out, it's a good counter against Gardevoir, because we even have Hisuian Bravery to spread damage as well, to do early knockouts on the Ralts with our Mooncleave Star, and also Eerie Cry for extra 3 damage counters, using Hawlucha to spread damage on the bench, with Mooncleave Star and Radiant Alakazam. For this deck though, it's not a good thing against Gardevoir. Obviously, we have the Psychic weakness for both Lucarios, and we're not playing any other fighting attackers. We don't have our Hisuian Arcanine to basically counter, for the tag card against Psychic decks. Because if they play a Psychic Pokemon, we actually get to tank with the Arcanine. But I feel like if we play the Arcanine, it's going to make the deck a lot less consistent, because it has a very, very heavy retreat cost, and it has 4 energy attack costs as well. And we can't actually attack with it that easily on the first turn. If we get stuck with the Arcanine in the active, we're not able to switch that easily, because we only have 1 escape rope for this deck, because we want to be countering the meta. If you want to counter the meta playing that many evolutions, you kind of need a lot of balls, right? We have not just our Lucario EX with the Stage 1 Lucario, 1 price Lucario from Brilliant Stars. We also have Bibarel, Zoroark, and Inteleon. That's 5 evolutions. And we got so many Ultra Balls. We need a lot of VIP, a lot of level balls with Nest Ball, a lot of other ways to get our basics on the first turn. Otherwise, Miraidon EX is going to be able to lock us from doing anything, right? If we don't bench 2 Riolus on the first turn, they can quite easily do a first knockout with the Electric Generator on our Riolu with the first energy attached, and then we're gonna have to start over to not just bench another one, but also attach the energy all over again. They could quite easily boss the second one as well. So that's the bad thing about Miraidon EX, that is crazy in standard just because of how fast it is, not because of how consistent. It's probably because of how fast it is. It doesn't really have enough draw support, if you ask me. They got Research and Judge obviously with the Raikou to do Fleetfoot, but I feel like it isn't really enough. If you have a full bench though, you are reducing those Pokemons from your deck, and that essentially helps you draw your supporter cards a lot easier. If you get the Research, you got big draw. If you get Judge, at least you are basically emptying your hand before playing that card. If you get to empty your hand by playing all the items before doing a Judge, you are at least drawing 4 cards instead of having to shuffle back those cards into the deck, making it less likely for you to get your next supporter. So Miraidon is crazy annoying, just because if you don't have enough of your items for the first turn setup, you're basically screwed. They got the ability, they just need 1 Miraidon to set up a full bench while you need so many item cards. It's really, really frustrating, right? When they get to bench so many Pokemons while you're left with nothing but 1 active, like maybe 1 attacker and 1 Bidoof for the draw support. And if they kill one or the other early game, you're basically screwed. So that's the reason we have not just our VIP, Level Ball, Great Ball. We have an extra Nest Ball now just to counter Miraidon. We have also, funny thing is that if you have enough cards in your deck to counter those cards, they just won't let you get the matchup anymore. Like, we don't have a Miraidon matchup. The minute we added an extra Nest Ball, they never give us another Miraidon matchup. It's just so frustrating because we're now ready to fight a Miraidon and you're just not giving us a matchup. I mean, come on. They always try to make you sweat, right? If it's not a good challenge, then it's not a game anymore, I feel. And that's the reason why this game is so hard, because every time you think you have the advantage, you have a solid deck, they're just gonna give you a match where, it throws your game. It throws your entire strategy. And you have to think of a way to add enough cards to make the deck work even against sticky situations. Even against overpowered meta decks like Gardevoir. You gotta think, on your feet. Like, what can you do about the power imbalance, and how can you counter decks that are basically your main weakness? Anyways, right now we just killed off the Vulpix with our quick shoot, and they actually did a boss on the last turn to knock out our Inteleon. So we actually get to play Inteleon for this game. Surprise, surprise. With the Mustard. I think we did Ultra Ball. And they did a boss to knock out the Inteleon, keeping the Lucario alive for us to play the Raihan to attack with the same Lucario. They have a Lost City, so if they kill off the Lucario, we actually can't revive with the Zoroark, because Zoroark only allows you to transform from the discard pile, not from the Lost Zone. And we have not just the EX in the Lost Zone, but also this Lucario in the active right now, if they choose to knock it out on the last turn. But we have a second copy though. We have a second copy of not just the EX, but also our base, our one price Lucario. I keep calling it a basic. Lucario is not a basic. So if we get the second copy, we have no Peonia though. At some point while building this deck, I decided to add Peonia. And then at another point, eventually I decided to just remove it for another Nest Ball. That was the card. That was the card that got cut out for Nest Ball, just because we keep getting smashed by Miraidon. So we can't afford to play Peonia if we want extra consistency for the deck to make it actually work against the meta. Peonia is obviously going to help you get your Inteleon from the prize. It's also going to help you dig for your evolutions, your next evolution, just in case they play a Lost City. So we're only playing 2 copies of our Lucario EX and also the one price Lucario. We got to be extra careful with playing it at the right time. Do not discard your Lucario though. If you discard it, you may not get the Team Yell's Shear at the right time to shuffle it back. You may not get the Zoroark. If you discard it at the wrong time, it could actually screw you over, right? Because we have no Peonia now. We may not get the Zoroark in the deck. It may be prize. If you have your Zoroark prize, and if you discard your Lucario EX early, you may have the second EX prize along with your Zoroark, and that means you can't actually play Aura Sphere until you draw the prize cards, basically. So you are forced to play Aura Sphere Volley before you're actually allowed to attack with your Lucario EX, which is not ideal just because you need the one price Lucario in play to be able to get enough energies for you to do the energy switch. So we obviously want to be attacking with the EX first before playing our Aura Sphere Volley. We should be collecting energies on the bench. As with any regular Lucario decks, if you're playing something else with a Lucario, you should have that. You should have your Brilliant Stars Lucario slowly attaching extra energies 1 turn at a time for you to get enough energy for a last minute knockout. So we are only playing 9 copies of basic fighting, and we have no energy recycler for this deck. But we do have Raihan to basically satisfy the attack cost for our next EX. We could also play it for the other Lucario to do Aura Sphere Volley a second time, but obviously we won't be allowed to play as much damage for the second hit, and we would be discarding even more fighting energies from the deck, and also from, any attached energies basically on the Lucario. Anyways, getting back to the game, now we're up against a Palkia V-Star. It's definitely been a while since we've last matched up against a Palkia. They got obviously Moonlight Shuriken with Star Portal, so we have to bench the Manaphy. We have no choice but to waste an extra spot for Manaphy, and that means we may not be able to play the Mustard for Inteleon. Because we kind of need, the Skwovet, Bibarel, 2 Riolu with the Manaphy, and that's already a full bench. We have Zorua in the active right now, but if we have a Riolu in the active in normal games, we would actually have Riolu in the active to start off. But we actually need another Zorua to basically transform into the Bibarel, just in case they do a boss to knock out the Bibarel. We can even transform to the next Lucario to play Roaring Resolve earlier as well if they do a boss on it. So that's the good thing about Zoroark, right? Because we kind of need 3 Riolus in play every single turn for us to prepare for the evolution, and also to do the energy switch on our next EX. We kind of need to prepare to have 2 Lucarios in play every single turn, and that means we need a 3rd Riolu. But since we have Zoroark, we can quite easily transform to the 3rd Lucario at some point in the game by doing Phantom Transformation. So we don't really need to be worried about whether to bench another Bidoof or another Riolu. We can actually bench another Zorua instead, just because if we have 3 Riolus with only 1 Bibarel, they can quite easily do a boss to deny us the draw support. So we got to be extra careful about that. We have to solve a lot of problems. With whatever deck that you choose to build, there is a lot of milestones into that perfect solid deck, that solid build that you can actually showcase and, you know, fight meta decks with. If you want it to be good against the current meta, you gotta sweat, you gotta work extra hard to make it actually good enough for you to get some decent wins. Because if you don't get any wins with your deck, you should not be showcasing it, right? I think it kind of goes without saying. Anyways, here comes the Suicune with the Fleetfoot. For the draw support, they got Radiant Greninja as well. Super consistent water deck. Palkia with the ability for the energies. They only get to use the V-Star power once though, obviously, but they got Irida as well to search for the item and a water Pokemon. So here comes the V-Star. They can't play Melanie though at the same time, so I don't think they are able to attack on this turn. Oh, they have one energy. They actually have one energy on the Palkia on the bench right now. So they can play Melanie later. That's the reason they did the Irida. My bad. So Escape Rope, we kind of are forced to put forth the Riolu or the Zoroark because we can't really lose the Manaphy or the Bibarel. So we're just gonna sacrifice the Zoroark. So I don't think we need it. We have the Lucario in our hand. If we don't have the Lucario, we would probably just keep the Zoroark because they could quite easily do a boss on the Bibarel at some point. So you never really know what's the best decision, because you never know what cards your opponent has in their hand. You gotta be smart though. Sometimes there is a way to basically predict what they have. Sometimes there isn't. So we don't have a Skwovet, but we do have our Lucario, our second Lucario, to basically start collecting those energies to knock out the second V-Star with one hit. At some point, we just need 4 discards. Oh wait, we need 5 discards, my bad. We still need 5 discards just to kill the V-Star, or any V-Star for that matter, because we're only doing 250 damage. 250 is not quite enough to kill a regular V-Star, except maybe 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄. And 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄 is not a big thing in standard right now, so... against 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕 though, it would be enough. More than enough, because we are hitting for the weakness as well, unless if they play the 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒅𝒄. So 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕 has got no cape in standard right now, and that's the reason it's not running around rampant, causing havoc for the standard meta. For the next set though, there's going to be Charm of Courage coming back to standard, boosting HP for all basic Pokemons by 50, and that means 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕 is going to be back in the game, ripping like crazy for extra damage for each special energy attached from the discard pile. Obviously they need a counter against the Duraludon. They just need to play Battle VIP because they don't really need the natural cure ability, unless if your opponent plays like Poison decks, Toxicroak. There is a new Toxicroak from this set that actually allows you to do extra damage, like Poison for extra damage counters, using not just its default effect for 6 extra damage counters, but also with Hisuian Sneasler. So it's a total of 8 damage counters for the Poison effect using Toxicroak, and if they play a 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕, it's going to be really hard to switch or retreat, because they have 4 energy retreat costs. They need the switch card, they need you know, something like Furisode Girl. Furisode Girl with 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕 using Widear is actually a very solid combo. So Widear with Furisode Girl is obviously the perfect match. And it is the only supporter that allows you to switch, by the way, for standard right now. But we do have our Sharon and Penny for 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒕 to basically remove it from the active spot by scooping it up into our hand. So there are a lot of ways to counter the special condition, and that's the reason I say they don't really need natural cure. Back to the game, now we have 3 energies on the Lucario to attack. We actually did Aura Sphere on the last turn as well, sniping the bench Palkia to prepare for a second V-Star knockout. But I don't think we can kill off the second V-Star with one hit though. Unless if they, you know, if we have our second Lucario alive, we can quite easily do so. We're gonna have to expect the boss though on the next turn. Definitely, because they got Irida to get a cross switcher as well to basically target our bench Lucario, finish it off before we are able to knock out the second Palkia with one hit. Definitely they wouldn't be killing off the EX because we're not actually doing enough damage to kill off the second Palkia. Even with 10 damage counters on it is not enough. So we couldn't manage to get our Inteleon into the game for this match, unfortunately, because it's not easy to play the Mustard. So we don't have an Irida for this game, and that's the reason it's a lot less easier for us to discard the Inteleon early game. If we don't discard it, obviously we can't even play the Mustard, let alone having to think about the condition of emptying our hand with only that supporter as our last card in hand. So we have only one Expedition Uniform. I would love to play more copies because that would mean we actually get to arrange the deck for us to play the Mustard without the Nest Dash, or even with the Nest Dash on the same turn right after playing that item card. So it's definitely a lot easier if you play Altaria to basically search your deck for any supporter and put it at the top card of your deck and then do Nest Dash. But I don't really want to copy someone else's deck. Like, that idea is already out there. I don't want to repeat something that's already been published. I don't like stealing someone's idea. It's like an insult to my intelligence. If I had to steal someone else's idea just to make myself look good, then I'm obviously a fraud, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a copycat. For fuck's sake, no way. So they got Starmie and Suicune on the bench. If we can do a boss at the right time, we got the final 2 prize for the win. If we can do a boss right now though, we can kill off the Suicune while knocking out the Palkia on the bench. They could at any point in the game just bench the Manaphy, so you never know. So here comes the boss knockout. They had to do a boss on the Lucario because it's basically pressuring them. It's basically saying, if you don't kill me now, we're gonna do a big knockout later. So you better fucking watch out. Anyways, we got our V-Guard, and now we're just gonna attach it onto our Riolu, preparing for the next Lucario EX. Because we got Raihan. If we are surviving one turn with the active EX while attacking, we actually get extra 1 energy on the bench, and that's all we need to play Raihan to satisfy the attack cost for the next Lucario. So that's the value of Rock Chestplate with your Lucario EX, helping you survive that one turn. That one turn is going to count a lot. We have 2 Raihans for the next attacker. We have also our final Energy Switch with Arven or Irida to search for it, using our Brilliant Stars Lucario to get energies attached onto itself and then switching the energy onto the EX for us to play Aura Sphere. Again, I just used the wrong word. Aura Sphere for extra bench snipe. So we got 140 damage on the Palkia V-Star right now, which is actually not enough to kill it off, unfortunately. If we had the Inteleon though, it would be dead by now. We just need 4 damage counters with the Quick Shoot, 2 turns, and that's it. We can kill off a V-Star for extra 2 prize, and then target the Suicune or Starmie for the final 2 prize with Boss Serena. So we have one last boss in the deck. Serena is in the discard pile. We do have Team EL's Cheer though to shuffle it back. So if they choose to play Greninja, they're not doing a knockout. So obviously they have to attack with either Starmie or Suicune. And if we had the Inteleon, not only are we able to kill off the Palkia, we can also slowly snipe off the Starmie or even the Suicune to finish it off after doing Aura Sphere if they attack with it on the active. Because obviously 160 minus 20 from Lake Acuity is actually not enough to kill off the active Pokemon. We need the Quick Shoot, a couple more turns. But we have a lot of turns though, because they are not doing a straight knockout on the Lucario. They've got 4 prize remaining, so it's definitely a long way to go for them. And, you know, they can't even do the bench snipe with Moonlight Shuriken because we have the Manaphy on the bench. Unless if they play Cross Switcher and Cologne. Obviously, Irida actually gives them access to those to that combo. So if they play Cross Switcher, they just need Irida to search for the Cologne. But I don't think they can draw that many cards though. They already have so many cards in their hand with Greninjas. Slow draw every single turn. They could actually have already the Cross Switcher in hand, you never know. So if they play the Moonlight Shuriken with the Cologne, they are actually doing double price draw by killing off the Skwovet and the Manaphy. So we gotta be extra careful. I think they used the Star Portal already though. They did Star Portal on the second Palkia. So they got no more access for Greninja to hit for the bench snipe. So on the next turn though, all we need is one boss. If we get the boss, we actually get to target a Suicune for not just 140 is not quite enough though, is it? 140 damage with our Aura Sphere, unfortunately, because we are doing 20 less damage on the Suicune. So even if we do the boss, we can knock out the Palkia on the bench, but we can't really kill off the Suicune. I don't think we can knock out the Palkia either, because we are doing 20 less damage, not just onto the active Suicune. They have no energies on the Suicune though, surprise surprise. They got energies on the Palkia, but none on the Suicune. So if we play Howlucha, we would be able to kill off the Palkia on the bench, while doing a knockout against the Suicune with the boss. So it may be better for us to think about playing some other stadium cards for this deck, maybe Path to the Peak, in addition to the Lake Acuity, because Lake Acuity could actually be helping our opponent tank damage as well. Since we are hitting only 160 with Lucario, we don't want to be hitting less damage on any of their Pokemon with fighting or water energy attached. So if they have fighting energy, for example, attached to their active and bench Pokemon, we're actually hitting 20 less, not just on the active but also the bench, which is terrible because we're only hitting 50 damage with Aura Sphere, not a lot. And if that gets reduced even further, it would basically destroy Lucario EX. So we kind of need Path to the Peak, don't we? We need some other stadium card or a worker at least for decks that rely on their stadium cards. That would help us a lot. So I think I'm just gonna end the voiceover right here and leave you guys to focus on the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Today we are featuring our Lucario EX, which is a new Black Star promos card that allows you to hit extra bench snipe with an EX for 2 fighting and 1 colorless. We have also our Brilliant Stars Lucario to get extra energies in the game with Roaring Resolve, placing 2 damage counters on itself to search your deck for any fighting, 1 basic fighting, and attaching it onto the Lucario, allowing you to play Energy Switch for you to do Aura Sphere on your second turn right after evolving your EX, doing a bench snipe early game. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from the people. Enjoy your life.